Torah Life Ministries come out of the world. Messiah people seek the truth.
Good morning, everybody. This is Paul Neeson with Torah Life Ministries. I want to explain and say that the Torah is known as the guidelines and instructions of our Creator. And if counted up by the system of Judaism, there's 613 commandments. Some of them are positive and some of them are negative, meaning some of them saying you shall do and you shouldn't do. The ones we are accountable for today are the ones that apply to us today. I'm not a farmer, so I can't do the guidelines and instructions that are for farmers. There are some regarding sacrifices in a temple. There's no temple. So that whole set of instructions is not applicable to us today. So are we and can we do every single one? Our Creator would not have given a guideline or an instruction if at one point we were not able to achieve it. But now today we can't achieve every single one simply because of the fact that we're not able to physically do them. Not that we choose not to. And now we have what's happened in the system of Christianity saying that grace replaced the law. So they first made a mistake by giving the instructions or guidelines of our Creator the word law. And the system of Judaism added to the guidelines and instructions of our Creator, making up a man-made law, which Yeshua our Messiah came to do away with. And his issue was not with the instructions and guidelines of our Creator, known as the Torah. His issue was what the system of Judaism was doing to it. In Deuteronomy, it says, do not add or take away, but keep my commandments. The system of Judaism was attempting to add to the commandments. Now today, the system of Christianity is attempting to take away from the commandments. Both of them go against what the scripture says. Do not add or take away. But it does say, but keep my commandments. And that's from Yeshua himself. And we saw yesterday's reading in chapter 21 of Exodus, how Yeshua was amplifying and raising the bar of what the instructions of our Creator was saying and not lowering it or doing away with it. And on another note, when Christianity says we're doing away with it, I have this translation here, which is the Aramaic English New Testament by a fellow named Andrew Gabriel Roth. And in this translation, which is only the Renewed Covenant translation at this time, he has wonderful notes in the back. And I want to read some of his notes because he lists all of the 613 Torah commandments. And in it, he says, well, there's much more to it than what I'm going to read. But basically, it says, how much Torah do Christians already keep? How much of the Torah do Christians already keep? It says there's a common lie being spread around by many Christians that the law, the Torah, is impossible to keep, which is mainly created by ignorance of the Torah. In reality, there are 613 commandments in Torah. The majority of Christians are keeping about 201 of Yahweh's commandments. A much smaller minority of Christians are keeping as many as 275 of the commandments. However, 221 commandments are acceptable only to the temple. And even if there were a temple, most of those would apply to the Jewish people only, or persons living outside of Israel. These are not applicable in the list below. An additional 74 of the commandments may not apply. These are special commandments which individual judges for the land matters, or are specific for men or for women, etc. If we examine how much Torah that Christians already keep, factor in what doesn't apply to them, then we discover that the range is from 66 to 83% of the Torah. 66 to 83% of the Torah. Judge for yourself. The list below has a yes or judge for yourself. The list has a yes or no according to Christian communities that do or do not observe each commandment. Also note that there are 94 commandments being observed by Christian minorities. So it says here, it says, the laws of the Nazarene are voluntarily. Therefore, we could potentially include these 8 commandments into the category. May not apply, which brings the average up to 69 or 80 to 87% of Torah being observed by Christians. The 93 commandments, which fall into the category of being both yes and no, are presently being observed depending on the individual. Individual Christian. Obviously, there's a very wide latitude of observance and doctrine which Christians would Christian in the Christian world. Can Christians observe 100% of the Torah that is applicable to them? Absolutely. Should they? Absolutely. In fact, Yeshua is the salvation of Yahweh who came to write the Torah upon the hearts of his people and to raise up his set-apart people. So that's a wonderful note here of what a Christian has the ability to keep. But the point here is that Christians are keeping 87%, up to 87% of the guidelines and instructions of our Creator that they say is done away with. You know, so if they want to pick and choose which ones they want to keep and which ones they don't, that's hypocrisy. I mean, if we're not supposed to keep them, why are you keeping 87% of them? So it's just a viewpoint of it that many people that are keeping them haven't expounded on or spoke about, and we should. And for example, it gives a list here, and it says things like, it starts off here. It says in Exodus 20, we read it says to believe in Yahweh, and it says most Christians will pray to Yahweh or believe in the Father and the Son. So most of them are keeping that. You know, to love Yahweh, that's a commandment. Most Christians are keeping that one. So, you know, then we get to some that they might not be keeping, and there are some that are not applicable. It goes through the whole list, and it's determined up to 87% of the commandments are being kept. That's the renewed covenant in Aramaic English New Testament. Excellent note. So I wanted to mention that.
Out of the world, oh my people, seek the truth, avoid the evil, learn Yahweh's ways. Torah life ministries come out of the world.